Mr. Salinas, you claim your doubts surrounding the paternity of 2-month-old Lily are warranted.
Yes, Your Honor.
While you admit to a drunken night with the defendant, you don't believe her child was conceived that evening.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Cantu, you say Mr. Salinas has never even met your child and now needs to grow up, stop partying, and step up to be Lily's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Salinas, why do you doubt Lily's your child?
Because we only had sex one time.
Without
It
protection?
takes one time.
Without protection.
Well, you know that's all it takes.
I understand.
So I need you to give me a little bit more as it relates to your doubts.
Well, the night we had sex, I invited her out. She didn't come through. Went out with some friends, had some drinks. Later that night, I hit her up asking if she wanted to hang out. So she told me to come by, and we talked, we messed around, we had sex. That was it, just a one-night stand. The next day, she woke me up, told me she had to go to class, and she also told me that she was off and on with this other guy. So, you know, I just took it from there, but...
Ms. Cantu.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had a boyfriend, but you slept with Mr. Salinas.
Well, what happened was Mr. Salinas had messaged me asking to want to hang out and whatnot, and I hadn't seen him in over a year. When we first met, whenever I moved to Corpus Christi, we were kind of in the same lifestyle. You know, we both liked to party. We were both young. You know, I was in college, and that's kind of what you do. You experiment with that. And as time went on, as I was getting closer to finishing my college career, that kind of faded, and I really didn't, you know, party anymore. So I didn't really hang out with him as much. A year goes by, and I decided to hang out with him because I hadn't seen him in such a long time. We ended up having sex. He knew about the guy that I was on and off with for about 3 years, the whole time I was in Corpus. So, you know, I was on and off with him. At that time when me and Mr. Salinas had sex, I was not in an exclusive relationship. So I did not cheat on anybody.
So when you woke up and said, I gotta go to class, what was this he's talking about? And by the way, I have a boyfriend. What did you actually say to him?
I don't remember saying, oh, and I have a boyfriend. I do remember telling him that I do have class because I am in college. And, you know, I kind of had to get things going. I didn't want to do nothing, just lay around all day, you know.
And so, Mr. Salinas, you maintain that she said she was dating somebody.
I understood that she was off and on through her Facebook and everything like that. So I just didn't take anything, you know, too serious.
Because the truth is, you believed she was also intimate with someone else during that time.
Yes.
So, Ms. Cantu, were you afraid of getting pregnant at all? You didn't use protection with Mr. Salinas?
Well, Your Honor, the day after, because I did realize that we had unprotected sex that night before, the day after, I did the responsible thing and I went to go take the morning after pill, you know, just assuming that it would work, and I went about my day, you know, went to class thinking that everything was good. Just because, you know, I wasn't in an exclusive relationship. I'm young, it doesn't, you know, people do it all the time. And, you know.
But
so,
you understand that there are STDs?
Yes, I do understand the rest of the stuff.
There is the potential that you could make a little person. Mm-hmm. Mr. Salinas, truthfully, I understand your doubt. If she slept with you unprotected for the first time, she's probably sleeping with the other person without protection, and therefore there could be doubt when she turns up pregnant.
Well,
how did you actually find out she was pregnant?
I got on Facebook one day and I saw her comment saying that she was pregnant and...
On Facebook?
Stay there.
This is your evidence?
Yes.
Jerome, will you hand that to me, please? So wait, after this day, this night you had together, you didn't talk anymore, or you were still talking?
No, I didn't. We just had sex. We didn't talk anymore. I understood that she was kind of on the rocks with this other guy, and I made it clear to her that I didn't want a relationship or a commitment till I was 25 or 30. So...
All right, so you went your separate ways?
Yes.
Until one day you're on Facebook and you see this post.
Yes.
And it says, it's about that time for my special news. I'm going to be a mommy. My precious bundle of craziness will be here on June 2nd.
It wasn't until I had went to my doctors and had my first sonogram at 9 weeks, and that was from that picture right there, that I had found out the exact conception date.
And what was that?
That was September 8th, and that was the exact same day that we had sex. And so I had also went back and I told the doctor, I took the morning after pill, and he had told me, well, if you've already ovulated or if you're in the process of ovulating, when you take it, it won't work. And I have the proof to show that I did that research too, that the pill didn't work because I was ovulating.
Let me see your proof. Thank you, Jerome. It indicates that the morning after pill may not be effective if you're ovulating.
Mm-hmm.
And you contend that that possibly could be what happened in your case.
Yes, Your Honor, I do. I believe that that's what the possibility is, considering the fact that me and Mr. Salinas had sex on the exact day that the doctor said my conception date was.
How close to the date of conception were you with your ex?
It was still in that same time period. I'm not sure if it's within those 3 days.
So during the window of conception,
yes, ma'am.
Have you had a DNA test for your ex?
No, we haven't. We haven't had a DNA test from my ex. He denies the baby, and he told me that he didn't want anything to do with her, that it wasn't what he wanted or needed, and that I needed to take care of it.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. So, Mr. Salinas, why have you not tried to get to know Lily, been there for her, if you know you're a real possibility?
Well, when I saw the message, or the post on Facebook, I immediately messaged Miss Cantu, asking her if there was a possibility that I might be the father, and she said no. She said that she had taken the morning after pill, that she'd been having intimate relations with this guy before and after we had sex.
Your Honor.
And that's not how you remember it?
No.
What do you remember?
I remember it specifically this way. He had messaged me and he asked me, do you think that the child that you're carrying could be mine? And I said, well, to tell you the truth, I didn't think you were at first, because the day after we had sex, I went and took the morning after pill. However, after talking to my doctor and they did the math and found out that my conception date was the exact date that me and you had sex, so you are a possible candidate, and plus the morning after pill isn't effective if you've already ovulated or if you are ovulating. And so I told him that he does have a possibility of being the dad.
Why do you think he refused to see Lily?
He always said that he didn't really have the means to do that. He was working at that time. And so it kind of doesn't make sense to me that if he knew that there's a possibility that he could have been the parent to this child, that he didn't put money aside to, possibly seek out if this is his child.
So how far away from each other do you live?
Well, we live 3.5 hours away, and after doing some research, I did find out that a basic bus fare is less than $100 to do that. So if you had a job at the beginning and you knew that eventually you're going to have to go there, then $100 really doesn't sound like much to find out if you have a child. And
not much when there's a beautiful little child. Mr. Salinas, $100. You couldn't pull that together to go up and see this child?
At the time, I really couldn't afford it. I had a minimum wage paying job, and I was out doing my music, and I still really wasn't sure if she was mine or not, and I didn't want to put forth the effort in taking steps to see, offer nothing, so.
So with this minimum wage job, you still couldn't save up $100?
No, I didn't have that job for very long.
Have you thought about Skyping, FaceTiming, anything to get to know this child? I just don't understand how a child comes into the world that possibly could be your child, and you can't find $100 to go up and see the child. I don't understand it. So you've never seen the baby?
No.
Never? And the first time you ever lay eyes on this little girl that could be yours is on a picture in my courtroom.
That is correct, Your Honor.
I mean, just look at her. She's beautiful.
She's beautiful, but I don't know if it's too early, but I still don't think that my features have come out in her. She looks a lot like her so bad. And I never even seen what the other guy looks like.
When you look at her, you see no resemblance.
I mean, if I try, maybe the eyes and the nose, but I still don't know. After she told me she took the morning after pill, she was in a relationship with this guy, and then months after she's pregnant, while she's pregnant, she comes and visits me and tells me I gotta change my life, I gotta stop doing the stuff that I'm doing, stop having fun. And I just didn't really feel like, I guess, taking those steps to see all for nothing if she wasn't mine.
And so, it just wasn't worth it to you to make a couple of adjustments. I mean, because let's be honest, if it comes out today that you're her biological father, you're gonna be able to live with the fact that you missed all this? I'd like to hear from your witness, Ms. Cantu.
Okay.
Please stand, ma'am. State your name for the court.
Carla Cantu.
Ms. Cantu, you are?
I'm her mother.
Her mother. What do you know about this?
I got a phone call from my daughter letting me know that she was pregnant. And so
when she told you she was pregnant, did she also tell you there were 2 possible fathers?
No, she didn't. She did not tell me. She told me later.
So, Ms. Cantu, were you ashamed? Were you embarrassed?
It wasn't necessarily that I was ashamed. I found out I was pregnant October 3rd. A week later, I had told my mom because I was literally, I know how to approach my mom, and at the moment, I didn't have health insurance. So the next day, I went and applied for health insurance. I was trying to get all my ducks lined up because I knew that I was going to be taking on this responsibility, and I wanted to make sure that I was prepared before I even presented this to my mother. And so, you know, a week later, I call her and I tell her, and at that time, I still didn't consider Mr. Salinas a possible candidate because of the fact that I had taken the morning after pill. I hadn't seen my doctor yet to know about the factors about me ovulating and it not being able to work and whatnot.
So that's the long answer for no, you didn't tell her.
No, right.
You know, she didn't tell me because she knew the type of person I was. She knew how hard I had worked all my life to sacrifice to give them everything that I never had, you know, so that they could grow up to be those, you know, perfect kids that I thought. So here I was thinking I was doing the right thing, and yet they never got to see that.
And so you feel like as much as you tried to be the example and be a professional woman and do the right thing for your kids and take them to church and give them everything you possibly could, you feel like the one thing you didn't give them is an example of what a healthy relationship is and what a woman operates like, moves like within a healthy relationship, so they could model that. Because do you believe that there were esteem issues or something going on with your daughter that led her?
Absolutely. I think there still is self-esteem issues. I think that she was searching for that love. And I think that there's a lot of girls out there that are looking for that love, because there's a lot of single parents raising children these days who tried to do what I did, thinking they were doing the right thing, probably did what I did. So I'm the first person that said.
You did the very best you could.
Right.
And you know what? Your daughter loves you for it. Thank you for your testimony. You may be seated. So, Ms. Cantu, what are your hopes today?
Well, Your Honor, I really do hope, you know, this is not about me. This is not about Mr. Salinas. This is not about my mom. This isn't even about anybody in this room except for my daughter, Lily. And she deserves to know who her father is. She deserves to know who her father is, because I know if she's anything like me, in the future, she's going to want to know. She's going to go searching for him, because she's not going to feel complete or whole until she knows where she comes from. And so I hope out of this, you know, if Mr. Salinas is the father, that he can step up and take responsibility, but not only that, but also look at this as a serious thing, that it's not just, you know, I look at kids nowadays that are just like, oh, I get to dress up my baby in nice doll clothes. You know, this is a serious responsibility, and, you know, and so I
Mr.
really,
Salinas, what are your hopes today?
I actually hope she is my daughter.
You do?
Because if she's that other guy's, I feel bad for her, because he don't.
You said because if she's that other guy's, you feel really bad?
Yeah, because he don't want to be there for her. If she's mine, I want to be there. I have a loving family to offer her. They would accept them with open arms.
Jerome, I think it's time for the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Salinas versus Cantu, as it pertains to whether 2-month-old Lily Cantu is the biological daughter of Mr. Salinas. Mr. Salinas, you. In the case of Salinas versus Cantu, as it pertains to whether 2-month-old Lily Cantu is the biological daughter of Mr. Salinas. Mr. Salinas, you are the father.
Awesome, dude.
Well, I think that says it all. You said awesome.
This is awesome. Great day.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. How do you feel, Miss Cantu?
Yeah, I'm happy at the fact that, he wants to be there for her, and, he wants to be a part of her life. And I just hope, that everything will work out and that, everything will happen for the right reason, and she'll have, the best life I can give her, that we can give her.
Hello, and thanks for joining me for another very special update episode of Paternity Court. 2 dads, double the doubt. Every child needs a father, and every day couples come to court seeking answers. With 2 or more possible fathers in court, emotions run high, and the truth often lies somewhere in the middle. In this first case, a fast food encounter with one man and an emotional goodbye with another brought a mother and her lovers to court.
So I grabbed her number, we was texting and stuff, and she wanted me to come up there on her break. And she even told me to bring a condom just to be safe. It was a combo special they had.
Whole 40 weeks pregnant, where were you? You didn't do nothing. You ain't buy no Pampers, no wipes, no bottles. I did that. You ain't do nothing. You didn't even check on him.
I just want to know, because it's multiple people that was having affairs with her. I just want to know.
So you feel like she was having sex with other men?
Oh, yes. He looked like the baby, too.
He wants to be a father to Jeremiah more than he does. And he's willing to step up and take that responsibility.
The biological father is Mr. Fisher.
All right. Do we need diapers right now?
You keep saying, this is not a joke.
It's my kid. Why can't I joke about it? I'm pretty happy now.
After the results, Mr. Fisher had jokes and Mr. Tate was disappointed. Are either of them in Jeremiah's life? Ms. Atkins sent the court this update.
Since paternity court, Jayani is definitely taking the steps he needs to take as far as being in Jeremiah's life. He's been asking to pick him up and see him, so that's one thing that I'm really happy about. Jadrian has offered to be Jeremiah's godfather, and his family's just been really supportive and calling and checking on me and Jeremiah. Thank you guys so much.
Now that's a great way of turning a negative DNA result into a positive experience. Up next, 2 men claimed 36-year-old Crystal Scott as their daughter. What took them so long to get a DNA test? Watch this.
I'm really upset because I don't know who my dad is.
So this is a 35-year-old mystery.
She's my 3rd child.
And you believed she was your daughter.
No ifs, no ands about it.
Her mother is your wife.
Still is.
My dad here, he raised me.
You had an 8-year affair with this man's wife.
I did.
Why not make it right from the beginning? Instead of having me go through years and years of pain.
And I thought about all those things that you're seeing right there. What's gonna come after that, Are him and I are gonna get into it? One of us go to graveyard, one of us go to prison.
In the case of Lewis versus Scott, the biological father is Mr. Lewis. After the results, Ms. Scott was fearful that the relationship with Mr. Scott and his family would change. She recently sent the court this update.
Things have been progressing. I still talk to my dad, who will always be my dad. My biological father, we're planning on meeting soon. As far as my mom, we don't talk. She's not ready to live in her truth. But when she does become ready to live in her truth, then we can sit down, talk about it, and have a relationship.
Ms. Scott is adjusting to her new truth, and hopefully she and her mother can sit down one day soon and have a heart-to-heart. Now, this next case really worked my nerves. Ashley McElhone came to court with two men, and they both believed they were her son's father.
After he came out, they handed him to me.
You signed the birth certificate?
Yeah, acknowledgement of paternity, and he's got my last name.
I was uncertain of if he was the father or if the other partner I was sleeping with was the father.
But you still believe Noah's your biological child?
Yes, I do.
Who do you want to be in a relationship with?
With
Who
Mark.
do you want to be in a relationship with?
With Mark.
When's the last time you were intimate with Ms. McElhone?
On Tuesday night.
On Tuesday night?
Absolutely not.
You just gave birth, they just sewed you up.
And you are confident
Yes.
your testimony is true?
Yes.
You actually asked this court to have a lie detector test
Yeah.
administered to prove that your testimony was true.
Yes.
Mr. Revere, you were asked the following questions. In the past month, have you had sexual intercourse with Ms. McElhone? You said yes. The lie detector determined you were being truthful.
But I didn't know that was done behind my back.
Are you
Doesn't matter.
suggesting
You should tell
that
the truth.
something was done behind your back?
Right.
That case still gets me heated. Ms. McElhone was playing both of them, but were either of her lovers the father? Stay with us until after the break for the answer and so much more. Welcome back to Paternity Court. It takes at least two men to create paternity doubt, and that's what I'm bringing you today. Cases with double the doubt. Before the break, Mark Tisdale was hurting and could barely look at the other possible father in court. To make matters worse, I uncovered that his girlfriend was sharing her baby and her body with both of them. Let's get to the results. The biological father is Mr. Revere.
You ain't never gonna change.
I mean, you can say otherwise, but I am.
You're not.
And I completely understand if you can't forgive me.
You something else. I just had to sit back and watch that. You so used to controlling him.
And me.
Since leaving court, Mr. Tisdale and Ms. McElhone have both declined to update the court on the status of their relationship. However, the court did hear from Mr. Revere.
Ever since taking the lie detector test, me and Ashley hasn't been talking that much like we used to. I get to see my son a lot, and I am 100% glad that Noah is mine.
Mr. Revere is being a responsible father and taking steps to ensure that he is a part of his son's life. Now, I do believe this next case was a paternity court first. Kaylin Knight named her son after her boyfriend. But there was a possibility that her godbrother was his biological father.
We ended up having protected sex that night, and then we ran out of condoms, and while we were doing it, I told him to go ahead and get me pregnant. That's what I told him. And as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I called DeMarcus and let DeMarcus know, I'm pregnant right now, and it's a possibility that it's Ladarius' baby or your baby.
So the other possible father is your godbrother?
Right,
Oh.
Ladarius.
Why are you making this look bad?
Lord.
Like, it could possibly be his. It could possibly be yours. We want to know, he want to know, he need to know, we need to know.
I'll say it again. Oh, Lord. Either Mr. Patterson or Mr. Sigler were going to leave my court disappointed. I'll bring you the results and more shocking and surprising updates when Paternity Court continues. I'm back with more of today's special Paternity Court update episode where we take a look at cases with double the doubt. Before the break, I brought you the case of Patterson versus Knight. Ms. Knight admitted to having sex with her godbrother and didn't know if he or her boyfriend was the father. It's time for the results. The biological father is Mr. Sigler.
I heard about it. I looked at him as mine, but at the end of the day, I'm happy for him to figure out who his real dad is, you know?
Since leaving court, Mr. Sigler told my staff he is going through the legal process to change his son's last name. Mr. Patterson said he's gotten over the disappointment and he's devoting himself fully to his current relationship. Now, this next case involved a history of not 2, but 4 possible fathers.
It's been emotional, confusing. I'm embarrassed. It's important to know where you come from. Who am I?
4 possible fathers.
I was dating my ex, and then Mr. McKinney was going off to war, so I went to visit him where he lived at and spend the weekend with him. I went to go visit my sister, and I hooked up with Mr. Bryson. Then I decided to move back to my hometown, and the weekend that I moved back, I met Mr. Brown.
When did you find out you could potentially be Ms. Gutierrez's biological father?
Last week. Oh my God, is this my baby? Could this be my baby?
In this courtroom, we deliver the truth. Mr. McKinney, you are not her father. Mr. Bryson is her father. After court adjourned, my staff put Ms. Gutierrez in touch with her biological father. I know you're wondering what happened, and I have this update for you.
I did get in touch with Mr. Bryson. I wrote him a few times. We wrote back and forth, and me and Mr. Bryson don't speak at all now as of today, so we all lost all contact. How do I feel? I feel great that after 26 years I found out who my biological father was, so I'm able to move on and kind of close that chapter there. I do want to say thank you again, Judge Lake, for everything that you did in helping me get the results that I needed.
Ms. Gutierrez seems to have accepted that her father isn't ready to build a relationship just yet. Her mother, Ms. Sullivan, also touched base with the court and said she is so glad she doesn't have to lie to her daughter anymore. Up next, a 19-year-old woman brought her alleged father and her parents to court for answers.
I recently got in contact with him and over social media and asked, are you going to come to my graduation, or are you going to lie and say you're coming and then not show up?
She said, what, you don't want to talk to your firstborn that you abandoned? And then you say, you may not be my daughter. We were supposed to get a paternity test about 4 or 5 years ago, but your mom never went through with it.
It's been a burden with this paternity. They deprived me of the chance of her falling in love with me for the first time.
It's over with now.
It don't have to be over with if you're my daughter.
Mr. Johnson, you are her father.
Okay. It's okay.
Ms. May immediately went to her parents, and many of you have asked if she accepted Mr. Johnson as her father. Mr. Johnson recently sent the court this update.
It's been sweet knowing the truth now, knowing that Amber is my daughter. I just recently attended her graduation. Beautiful. I just want her to know that I'm here for her. I love her. I'm extremely proud of her. If she just give me the time to, I can be the biological father that she always dreamt of and more.
There is so much warmth and emotion coming from Mr. Johnson. I love hearing that Ms. May is doing well and spending time with her dad. Moving on, it's time for my last case of the day. Ms. Boone didn't know if her father was her uncle or if her uncle was her father. Talk about a case of double the doubt. Watch this.
I want to build a relationship with him, but I don't want to build a relationship with my uncle if he's my dad.
So the plaintiff could be your father or your uncle.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defendant could be your father or your uncle.
Yes, Your Honor.
I found out that my brother and Gina was together.
You caught your wife in bed with your brother.
Yes.
Mr. Shockley, how do you end up sleeping with your brother's wife?
Well, I thought they were broke up at the time.
But I mean, is there any brother code?
Not in small town.
You said not in a small town?
She was my little girl. I was there during the whole pregnancy.
She's my daughter.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
The testimony in this case was honest and at times shocking. Ms. Boone was caught in the middle and just wanted to know the truth. Stay with me for the surprising results, and you will also hear from Ms. Boone after the break. Welcome back. I'm almost at the end of today's special update episode of Paternity Court. Two dads, double the doubt. Before the break, I brought you the case of Shockley versus Shockley. These two brothers had long-term relationships with Gina Grove in their younger days. 32 years later, Ms. Grove's daughter wanted to know once and for all, is my father my uncle, or is my uncle really my dad? Here's the answer I gave her. In the case of Shockley versus Shockley, the biological father is Mr. Steve Shockley.
Yes! Oh, yes. Baby.
It was a long time coming, but Ms. Boone left my court with the truth. Steve Shockley is her biological father. This is one of those cases where you just have to find the magic in the mess. Ms. Boone touched base with the court and let us know how this mess turned out once they got back home.
Hey, Judge Lakes, how are you? Well, since we left court, my relationship with my dad has been great. We talk almost every single day. We don't get to see each other as much as we would like to because he does live so far away from me. One thing that we love the most is the fact that out of 6 kids, I'm the only girl. Our bond has gotten even stronger and our relationship is even better. Thank you so much for giving me the answers that I have wanted and needed for so long. See you later.